Marcus was sitting on his porch on a quiet summer morning, enjoying coffee. He was a tall, well-built black man, a familiar face on the quiet street known to all. Birds chirped in the trees, and the sun peeked through wispy clouds. This was his morning routine, simple and peaceful. But today would not stay simple for long. Just as he closed his journal and set down his cup, the sound of a car door slamming echoed through the street. Marcus glanced over and saw two men in dark uniforms striding toward him. Both wore baseball caps with an official-looking seal. In their hands, they held folders that looked like badges. They looked serious and tense. One cleared his throat. Hand spoke in a firm voice. "Sir, you're under arrest. Please come with us." Marcus furrowed his brow but stayed calm. He was just an ordinary homeowner on the surface, maybe the kind of man people in this neighborhood barely noticed. But Marcus was no ordinary guy. Training kicked in. He stood up slowly, setting his empty cup on the table. "Excuse me?" he asked, voice steady. The lead man puffed his chest out and said, "We have a complaint from the Homeowners Association. We have authority from the HOA board. You're violating community rules. You must come with us right now." He raised the folder up like a badge. Marcus didn't move. He noticed that the patch on the uniform said HOA Security, not Police. The folder had faded letters. His mind raced. These were fake cops, criminals posing as association officials. A crooked feeling sat in his gut. Why were they here? What did they really want? Keeping his hands at his sides, Marcus spoke quietly. "I'm not aware of any violation. Who exactly are you? And which board member requested this?" The fake cop's eyes flickered. The man tried intimidation. "Sir, we have full authority. Come quietly or we'll take further action." He didn't brandish a weapon yet, but a heavy baton hung from his belt. Marcus tilted his head slightly and spoke very calmly. "I'll follow the process, officer. Just explain the reason and my rights." Inside, he had already assessed the scene. These men were dangerous, but Marcus had been through worse. He had dealt with armed criminals, mobsters, and terrorists in his career. These two impostors were nothing compared to what he could handle. He let a fraction of a smirk cross his face. He had thought through countless scenarios before leaving the house. No matter how intimidating these impostors were, he wouldn't flinch or show fear. For them, this was routine. For him, just another test. They were about to find out they'd picked the wrong man to intimidate. The tension hung in the air. On one side were two small-time impostors, feeling powerful in mock uniforms. On the other side was a calm, experienced agent. Little did the fake HOA cops know that was about to change. Cumulative word count, 500. Marcus's calm demeanor unnerved the imposter officer. The lead fake cop stepped forward to assert authority. "Don't resist," he barked. Marcus didn't flinch. When the man lunged to grab him, Marcus let the grab happen. Then, twisting smoothly, Marcus broke free and shoved the man. The imposter stumbled backward, colliding with a lawn chair and knocking over a potted plant. The second imposter officer moved in, and Marcus caught sight of the grip of a handgun at his hip. The first imposter recovered, chest heaving, and spat a strand of spit onto the grass. He glared. "We're not joking. Come quietly or else." Marcus stayed relaxed, only tilting his head. "Explain why you think you can do this, officer," he said evenly. Without warning, the second imposter lunged at Marcus. In a flash, Marcus stepped aside and reacted with sharp precision. He grabbed the heavy baton from the first imposter's belt and spun it under his arm in one fluid motion. With practiced ease, he struck the second imposter across the shoulders, sending him to the pavement. Seeing their partner go down, the first imposter howled and moved to help him. But Marcus was already too quick. He pivoted and swept the baton out, catching the first imposter off guard. In the next second, Marcus pressed both men against their own car. "Enough," Marcus said, breathing steadily. Both imposters were pinned, sliding down the car's hood. One groaned, the other coughed as blood trickled from a split lip. Marcus stood over them with the baton held. "I'll ask one more time, who sent you?" The lead imposter hissed. "We were paid, so we thought you were an easy target." Marcus shook his head. He tapped his chest insignia before producing his wallet badge. "FBI," he declared, holding The badge up in the morning light? The impostor's eyes widened. Marcus continued, Federal Bureau of Investigation. The men realized their mistake. They tried to bully a federal agent. He stepped back and keyed his hidden radio. Agent Davis here. 2 suspects detained at 123 Elm, he said. Almost immediately, sirens blared in the distance. Red and blue. Lights reflected on nearby houses as officers screeched to a stop. 2 patrolmen jumped out, guns drawn. The first officer, a woman, recognized Marcus at once. Agent Davis, she said, lowering her weapon. The second officer, a young rookie, simply stared in astonishment at the scene. Marcus nodded and sheathed the baton. I'm fine. Handle it, he replied. The officers moved in quickly, handcuffing the 2 criminals as Marcus watched. The morning. Calm returned quickly. Marcus surveyed the street as neighbors peeked from behind curtains, oblivious to the truth. He stepped onto his porch, feeling a light ache, but otherwise unhurt. His coffee was now cold, but it hardly mattered after the excitement. He took a slow sip, savoring the taste. The day had started with a shock, but Marcus handled it with ease. For him, it had been another mission that morning. With the impostors handcuffed on the lawn, Marcus finally exhaled deeply. Sirens still wailed in the distance as 2 uniformed officers began asking him questions. He noticed blood on his knuckles and wiped it away. Curious neighbors had gathered at a distance. One woman stepped forward nervously and asked, Are you okay, Mr. Davis? Marcus straightened his tie and smiled reassuringly. Yes, I'm fine. The police are already here, he said calmly, giving her a thumbs up. She nodded and went back inside, still shaken. Officer Hernandez approached, removing his hat with respect. Agent Davis, right? He asked. Marcus confirmed. Impressive work, the officer continued. We'll be sure to note that in the report. Another officer, a rookie, watched in awe. Marcus simply nodded. Inside, however, his mind was reviewing the encounter. He had stayed calm and outsmarted the impostors the whole time. Adrenaline still pulsed through his veins, but he focused on breathing. He patted his chest pocket where his FBI badge rested under his shirt, a reminder of who he really was. Back on his porch, Marcus picked up his now cold coffee cup. The morning's shock was fading into the normal rhythm of life. Birds chirped, a lawnmower buzzed. Children's laughter drifted over the fence. Neighbors emerged from their homes, whispering and staring. Marcus gave a casual wave as he passed them, a simple gesture hiding decades of experience. He thought about the morning's events. 2 men had tried to intimidate him, thinking he'd be easy to scare. In reality, Marcus was known as the FBI's most feared agent, called in for the toughest jobs. Those imposter officers had no idea how dangerous he could be. As he took a slow sip of coffee, he thought of his family. His wife and kids were safely indoors, probably wondering about the sirens. He had already texted his wife to let her know he was okay. Soon his normal routine would resume. He glanced at the imposters being led to a patrol car. Their faces were pale and shaken. He allowed himself a small smirk. Yes, they had been terrified of him, though that wasn't something to boast about, publicly. Never judge a book by its cover, Marcus reminded himself quietly. The officers gave him a thumbs up and finished cuffing the criminals. Marcus put the coffee cup down and stood. He nodded to the officers and walked back toward the house. Stepping inside, Marcus headed to the mirror in the entryway. There were bruises on his arms and a small cut on his chin from where he had struck the plant pot earlier. He winced as he rubbed the chin gently. He put on sunglasses over his eyes, enough to conceal the minor injuries. He had handled the entire situation without a weapon drawn. That thought gave him a quiet satisfaction. The day had started with danger, but for him, it ended like any other. Calm morning. He locked the door behind him and relaxed fully. What would you have done if fake cops showed up at your door? Stay calm like Marcus or fight back? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more unbelievable true stories.